We're Leland Live, Talk 995. Let's get it going, man. AJ, I just heard the 1819 news guy pronounce it Vestavia. We need to keep a record of mispronunciations here on the show. Vestavia. Or maybe we should just start saying it that way. Okay, Vestavia, we just changed your name, Vestavia. All right, Trump's going to speak in a little bit. I don't know what on. I think this is healthcare related. There was a lot of reporting, and I don't even have all the details of a modification or reclassification of marijuana scheduling for the federal government. We'll have to wait and see when this pops out. Naturally, with the ongoing situation with Iran and everything else that Trump keeps going all the time, there's no telling what we'll sway into. This is at the White House, which is typically, unless it's a state visit, it typically involves reporters and Q&A. So we'll try to catch as much of that as we can. Whenever Trump decides to show up here in just a little bit, he does what he does when he wants to do it. Let's start with the weather this hour. They're starting to give us a little more detail on possibilities of severe weather tomorrow night and then on Monday. The good news is that we're in this super wet pattern. I saw one computer model, and I'm not crazy about the idea because I've got a little bit of construction and some outdoor stuff to get done the next few weeks, but they're saying between now and the first week of May, the maps are a little all over the place, but they're anywhere from 6 to 9 inches of rain, which we desperately need. It would help bust the drought, but it's going to be a much wetter pattern, and some of that's going to come with some storms. So tomorrow night, the threat is for potential large hail. There could be some wind involved tomorrow evening. That still looks to be like a sort of an early morning event, actually early evening into a Saturday morning event. Then we've got another round on Monday. Details on that when we get the fresh forecast out. We'll have fresh forecasting here in just a little while, as they'll usually put out an update around 3 or 4 o'clock to refine those computer models. So playing around with that today. Man, there's a lot of just different directions we could go. Most of it follow-ups on things that have been going on in the week. Let me just start with Iran since it's still front and center. I saw some reports a little while ago that potentially there was some bombing going on around Tehran. Some of that can get wildly overstated, that whatever anti-aircraft capability they might still have might have spun up. Some others say it was just a surveillance drone. They're a little jumpy on the ground in Iran right now. For their part of the matter, the Trump administration is saying that they're just sitting back, twiddling their thumbs, waiting on Iran to decide who's running the country. They're having a huge internal battle over who gets to speak for the country. And it really comes down to, if you wanted to oversimplify it, it's hardliners versus some of the more moderates. We understand there might have been an arrest of one of the IRGC leaders. Yesterday we heard about some mullahs being kind of under house arrest. They're sort of fighting with each other over who gets to cut the deal with the Trump administration, and that sort of makes sense. For their part, the markets we have the Dow down a couple of hundred today. It had been down much more than that. It looks like it's trying to make a little bit of a late afternoon rally. Let me pull up the oil price real quick. Sometimes I'll have that flash up, and let's see, where are we right now? About $96. Oil is staying in the 90s during all this. I think unless something crazy and super volatile happens, the oil price, while we don't like it at 90, we'd rather it be down around 70. It's not 150 like I explained yesterday, which was Iran's whole blackmail plan to the world, was to drive those prices into unsustainable numbers. But right now, these economies, our economy in particular, because everything else in the economy is going so well, is able to absorb it. As much as we hate having to spend more when we fill up, it's not creating panic or crisis level stuff, unless you sit around and watch the news all day or get caught up in algorithms on social media, and then you might spin yourself into believing whatever they're trying to get you to believe. We had another story today. Well, that's pretty much it on Iran. If there are breakthroughs, of course, we'll have details on that. We did board another tanker. I think this one was in the Indian Ocean. We're trying to seize any kind of oil imports or exports from being able to move associated with Iran's economy. And just like we said yesterday, we've already punched them in the face. Now it's time to choke them. So they're in a sleeper hold right now. We're waiting on them to pass out. So we'll wait and get updates on that here in a little while. No doubt there'll be updates on that situation. Of course, we'll deal with the market close here in about an hour. Let's deal with, let me go with this one. There was a news conference today where 43 Mexican mafia drug cartel types were rounded up out in California. It's really amazing to see how much these folks are still able to operate. There's also a story today about the deportations. Details on those arrests. These are, I mean, they're arrested for murder and all kind of crazy things in conjunction with their activities here in the United States. So that kind of stuff continues. The other day, someone reached out and was talking about deportations, and the deportations are continuing. They're setting records. Trump has already, just in the first year and a half, is approaching record deportations in terms of overall numbers and the daily numbers. I pulled this up a little bit earlier to see what's going on. Smartly, the Trump administration realized they were giving the bedwetters a PR value of doing a lot of these apprehensions publicly with ICE, and it gave those purple-haired chicks, those little doughy liberal Subaru drivers, a chance to get out in the streets and fight with our ICE agents and make them look like the bad guys. And that wasn't working. There was a better way to affect this. Tom Homan's doing a better job of keeping it low-key but keeping the numbers up. So at last report, and I'll just throw these numbers out there, and we'll continue to update these as we go along. Trump is averaging, his administration this time is averaging 1,121 deportations a day. Compared to Obama and Biden before him, it was about 300. Now, here's the difference, and this is what you got to keep in mind. During the Obama and Biden era, when they were claiming, say, 350 deportations a day, they were taking credit for turning people around at the border. In some cases, they weren't catching people that have been here a while or up to no good. Some of these are also just through our court process. Some people were just automatically deported. But they were letting in millions more over the course of a long period of time, thousands per day, per week, while they were trying to keep some deportation numbers up. The point I'm trying to make is the net, let me see if I can articulate this the right way. The net loss of illegals is higher when you're not letting anyone in and you're deporting 1,121 is the exact number of the average. If you're deporting 1,121 illegal immigrants a day and you're not letting anybody in, that's a net win for the country. So the numbers are slowly going down on a daily basis. And they did so much of this importation activity. Again, our government paid for it, sponsored it, facilitated it. Rather than being a guardian of the border, they were using human beings as human shields for their political ambitions and letting millions of people in here over that period of time. It's going to take a while to get them all out, but we have to do it. And we're doing it as methodically, I think, as we can. The good news on that front is slowly through reconciliation, there's a bill moving through the Senate. The House has to concur to the framework. Then they've got to go through some other votes. But it looks like they're finally on track to, without the Democrats being able to stop them, fully fund these deportation efforts and ICE and all that goes with it. So those numbers will slowly continue to go up, at least for the next 2.5 years while Trump is president. Everything changes after that. Again, so it's a net positive for the country. No matter what the historical numbers were, they were also letting in more than they were deporting. So we were net gaining people, and now people are leaving the country, and that's a good thing. All right, AJ, I'm looking at the monitor. You tell me if you're seeing what I'm seeing. Trump is live behind the Resolute desk. We'll see if this is anything of great note for the news of the day. He's surrounded by a lot of his economic team. I think I see RFK Jr. in the room. Let's let the White House speak for themselves for a few minutes. We'll try to keep our breaks on track unless this turns into something big, and of course, try to cover the Q&A as much as we can. Trump's talking right now. Let's take a listen.
Prescription medications at heavily discounted most favored nation prices. In other words, the numbers will come down at levels that nobody's ever seen before. The whole most favored nation thing that we've been able to do with Bobby and Maz and everybody behind me, Marty, has been incredible. It's the biggest price reduction in drugs in history. By itself, we should win the midterms, but it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. It doesn't work that way. People forget too quickly, but we'll have it's the biggest cut in drug prices in the history of our country by many percentage points. With this announcement 17 of the world's largest pharmaceutical companies, representing 80% of the branded drug market, have now agreed to sell their drugs to American patients at the lowest prices anywhere in the world. We're going to have the lowest prices in the world. This will result in the largest drop in prescription drug prices in the history of the United States of America. I mean, that should be front page news, but it won't be. It'll be back on page 19, but the people get it. That's why we're in the Oval Office, I guess. I want to thank Regeneron CEO, a friend of mine for a long time, good guy, great guy, CEO Len Schleifer, and Chief Scientific Officer George Yancopoulos, who are two fantastic people in the medical world, very respected. We're also joined by Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Bobby, thank you. Secretary Howard Lutnick, Administrator of the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, Dr. Mehmet Oz, who's doing a fantastic job. They all are. FDA Commissioner Marty McCary and Chief Counselor of Health and Human Services, Chris Klump. Thanks, Chris. Great job you're doing, Chris, wherever you may be.
Thank you, sir.
No, he's there. For decades, Americans have been forced to pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, by far. Prices that were many, many times what the rest of the world was paying, because we had a president that didn't know what they were doing, or they weren't able to get other countries to agree to it. I was able to do that because I used tariffs. I said, if you don't agree to it, we're going to put tariffs on your country. And they said, we would be honored to do it, sir, after telling everybody no, including me. But they agreed to do it. The United States is just 4% of the world's population, and consumers only 13% of all prescription drugs. Yet pharmaceutical companies have been making 75% of their profits from American customers. So think of that. With 4% of the population and doing only 13% of all prescription drugs, the companies make 75% made, I don't know, maybe, hopefully they continue, because actually it's not as bad for them as it sounds. In fact, many of their stocks are up, because actually when the price goes up on the one end, they make up for the price coming down in the United States. So it really worked out pretty good. To address this chronic unfairness, I signed an executive order instructing my administration to do everything in our power to slash prescription drug prices for Americans while getting other countries to pay more, in many cases much more. But their other prices doubled, and sometimes they tripled, and ours would go down by 60, 70, 80%, even more. Today, we're building on our unprecedented success with Regeneron, committing to offer all new drugs moving forward at most favored nations prices. They'll make their current drugs available to Medicaid and MFN. That's most favored nation. Additionally, they'll also offer their current drug, Praluent, which is the lower cholesterol and fight heart disease, to all consumers at dramatically lower cost. It'll come down from $537 to $225 and be available at TrumpRx.gov. I didn't put the name. Bobby did, and Oz did. It's true, actually. Remember, I came in, I said, what's this?
You
But
like
they
the name?
said, it'll be better. It'll sell better. Would you help us? So I now have my name on medication. But it's doing great. I hear it's setting records, actually. I was watching the other day, and Mark Cuban, of all people, said, it's amazing what Trump has done with this. I can't believe when I heard him say that. I was sort of in a state of shock. But others have said it too. This whole thing it's turned out to be hot. So that's TrumpRx.gov. The company will also invest $27 billion to build up research and development and pharmaceutical manufacturing here in America, which is a big thank you very much. Today, I'm also announcing that the FDA has just approved a new drug from Regeneron called Otarmeni, a gene therapy curing a rare disease that causes deafness. You know, people are totally deaf, and it's amazing. I've seen some work on it. It's actually hard to believe. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Normally, cures for rare diseases can cost millions of dollars, and really the results aren't that good. But in this case, I'm pleased to say that Regeneron will be giving this away for free for a period of time, for free. And here with us is 2-year-old Travis Smith. He was born deaf. Was he totally deaf? Pretty
Yeah,
much, right?
100%.
Wow. This is 100%. He was 100% deaf, but he took this miracle cure, and now he can hear his mom, Sierra, say, "I love you." And Sierra, could you maybe say a few words? That's really incredible.
It's absolutely incredible. Regeneron works miracles. Yeah, he didn't know his name. He couldn't hear me tell him how much I love him. And now with Regeneron and this amazing surgery, he can listen to music, and he loves it, and he loves to dance, and he loves instruments, and I'm so proud of him. He's been so brave through all of this. And yeah, now he can hear, and he has a bright future ahead of him, and I'm so thankful to everybody on the Regeneron team.
Well, that's incredible. I mean, even the fake news has to be impressed with this. They'll find a way to make it a bad story. He doesn't hear perfectly, but he actually does. It's about 1% off. They'll figure a way. How are you going to do it? You got to explain. No, they're genius. They are genius. I respect them a lot. But I just want to thank you, Sierra. That's incredible. Your family.
Thank you for having us.
He's a beautiful person, too. That's a beautiful boy.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you.
His life is a happier life.
Oh, yeah, he is so full of energy and love now, and he was such a
So you
serious
see
baby.
such a difference.
Yeah, he was such a serious baby.
And before that, it was he didn't. It's very tough for.
Oh, for sure. He can't tell me what he wants or what he wants to eat or what he needs, and now he'll be able to do that. And
Wow.
It's life-changing.
That's a great job they've done. I want to thank Regeneron and other companies for doing their part to bring
Right,
down
this
the
little
cost of
child is
healthcare.
barefooted and he's crawling around. All these adults are holding this live news conference. He's 2 years old and he's just rolling around on the floor. At first, it sounded annoying because you had this kid in the room, but that was just adorable. That was a real human moment there. Back to the president.
Weight loss drugs has gone from $1,350 a month to as low as $199 a month. So that's a price that's incredible. So it used to sell in London for $87, and they raised it to $199, which is a big raise if you know from 87 to 199. But that's been going on. Our country's been being ripped off for 30 years. How long would you say, Doug? Like 30, 40 years? Yep. For years with drugs and drug prices. So they're going up. We're going way down. And because the world is a bigger place than we are, believe it or not, it's hard to believe that, but they are, that we go down much more than they go up. So they don't go up as much as people would have thought. So they're going from, they're going to 199, and we're going down all the way down. Think of that. We're going down from $1,350 a month to $199. That's, nobody would believe it. And this is true with all. I mean, this is the weight loss drug, but this is true with all drugs. Sometimes even more of a difference than that, sometimes a little bit less, but sometimes substantially more than even that difference, and you see what that is. So we cut the per cycle cost of IVF drugs by thousands of dollars, and we reduced the price of the major COPD medication from $458 to $50. What? That must be a typo. Is that a typo? From $458 to $50. If your boy was here, he'd go, wow. He laughed, he got bored. I think he got a little bored. He wants to go into bigger and better things, but there's nothing bigger or better than this. They'll all be available right now at TrumpRx.gov. So it's, you know, that's why it's doing well. It's not doing well for other reasons. It's doing well. Think of that. That's some discount. But we have others. And these are all top companies and top medications. And I think in the end, we're going to have every company involved. We're almost there right now, but we're going to have every company involved. So TrumpRx has already received more than 15 million visitors, and every American should log on to check for massive discounts before they go to the pharmacy. It's setting a record. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. I've actually had many companies, I shouldn't tell you this, Bobby, but there have been many companies say, so we'd like to buy from you if you could. What? TrumpRx.com. I said, it's not for sale. It's not me. It's the government. The government owns it. I don't own it. But they're all impressed. These pharmaceutical companies, they said they've never seen anything like this. So it's fantastic. Now, I'd like to ask Secretary Kennedy to say a few words, and then we'll have Dr. Oz, the team at Regeneron, and Sierra, And Sierra, I'm so happy for you. And Chris Klump has been unbelievable, a real star. You don't know his name as much as some of the others, but he's a real star of the group. So, Bobby, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I was reminded when the president was speaking of a conversation that I had yesterday with one of the Democratic senators who was questioning me during a hearing, and she was ridiculing President Trump for his math, and she was saying, it's mathematically impossible to have a drug drop by 600% cost, which he had claimed. And I said, well, if the drug was $100 and it raised the price to $600, that would be a 600% rise. Well, if it drops from 600 to 100, that's a 600% savings. And the president used that mathematical device to illustrate the magnitude of the theft that has been happening against our country and our people. As he said, we have 4.2% of the world's population. We take 13% of the pharmaceutical drugs. We spend 80% of the biotechnology research in our country, and we provide 75% of the profits to the pharmaceutical industry. This is a ripoff that has irked him for 20 years. During his first term, he held the line on drug prices for the first time in history. He came back on this term and he said, we're going to lower them this time, no matter what. There's people in this room or a part of the White House staff who said we can't do that. Oz and I said we probably can't do that, but he harassed us. We were beleaguered. It was like Fort Apache. Dr. Oz would not answer his phone because he was calling all night long with the president on the line saying, get this done. And we brought in this amazing superstar, Chris Klump, and he negotiated these agreements that people said were impossible. I want to thank him for his leadership, Chris, and I want to thank George and Lynn, who are the co-founders of this this company of Regeneron. Their generosity, their idealism, their love of this country, and their compassion for these children who are injured. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Amazing. It is amazing. And you're right. I took a lot of heat to say 500, 600. But we also say sometimes 50%, 60%, different kind of calculation. 70, 80, and 90%. And people understand that better. But there are two ways of calculating it. But either way, it doesn't make any difference whether it's 60, 70, or 80%. Nobody's ever heard of it. But it's also 500, 600, 700, depending on the way you want to look at it. So the way you word the calculation, it's either one. But Bobby, you're doing a fantastic job. We wanted somebody out of the box, and we got him, right? I would say we got him. And Bobby, he's a great guy, actually. So, Oz, how about saying a few words, please?
So this has been an unprecedented process. The president insisted we deal with one critical number you should all remember, which is that 1 in 3 Americans, when they go to the drugstore, after they've seen a doctor, will often leave empty-handed because they cannot afford the medications they're picking up. So affordability was the main word the president would use in many of those phone calls. He wanted it to be done fairly. We created a partnership with the pharmaceutical industry that was remarkable in that it pushed 17 massive companies into the fold to try to do deals, again, unprecedented, that would allow us to claim that they were giving the most favored nation pricing to this country, to the American people. The president would not take no for an answer. We got 16 companies in, but not the 17th. How many times do you think we spoke about the 17th company?
Too much.
17. He said 17. He wanted to be 17. Whatever math you want to make, 16 is not 17. There's a reason that the 17th company was delayed. It's why they're here today. It's that beautiful young boy you saw earlier. When you can save a child's hearing, and Mr. President, we talked about a lot of numbers. Secretary Kennedy quoted 100%, 600%. It's hard to beat free. Free is the best price, and that's the starting price with the president oftentimes, and that's what this wonderful company's agreed to. I want to applaud TrumpRx.gov, a remarkable site created by Joe Gebbia. Ed Korstein has done a wonderful job with 0 glitches, serving more than 10 million individual unique Americans so far. And Mr. President, it's the fastest website I've ever seen. People love it because it works well. There's all kinds of additional elements being added to it, which we'll be talking about. But this website, as the president said, must be checked. must be checked if you're going to buy a medication to make sure your price is the right price. It's a transparency site that is more rigorous than anything that I have seen. And Mr. President, your name is attached to it. And of course, that brings a tremendous amount of attention to it. We wanted it to be perfect. And the team who did that has accomplished that exactly. I want to applaud Chris, because you cannot thank him enough, but it was also John Brooks, Imba Hernandez. I see Beth back there, Theo, Rujal, a bunch of people who've done a tremendous amount of work. And what I keep hearing from the pharmaceutical industry, maybe my colleagues can address it in your comments, they never expected to have a counterparty as qualified in the federal government. If you're thinking of serving your nation, this is the right time to do it. This is the right administration to serve in, because the president makes it easy to do the right thing. Gentlemen.
Go ahead,
Okay,
please.
thank you. Mr. President, Secretary Kennedy, Secretary Lutnick, Commissioner Macri, Administrator Oz, and I guess Superstar Klum.
Yes.
Thanks for having us here on behalf of all of Regeneron. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Len Schleifer, President and CEO of Regeneron, and with me is Dr. George Yancopoulos, President and Chief Scientific Officer of Regeneron. And together, well, I should pause there. I just realized something. I'm a president, he's a president, he's a president, and all three of us grew up in Queens, New York.
That's right.
So there's something maybe that was going on back then that was good. I'm not sure about now. So anyway, together we founded, George and I founded Regeneron, and have built it over the past 4 decades. Today we are here. We were not pushed to be here. We are happy to be here because it marks an important step to lower drug prices. We've been arguing for more than a decade that other wealthy nations have been getting a free ride on American innovation. Just like in defense, but they've been getting in health defense a free ride. And now President Trump is putting policies in place to force these nations to pay their fair share, which will in turn lower prices for Americans. It's a good deal. But we have to remember this is just the beginning. The most important battle we all face is disease itself. We have to recognize how hard this fight is. For most major diseases that you or your loved one might suffer from, like Alzheimer's disease, to cancers, to genetic diseases, we are very far away from a cure. And we have to understand that discovering cures is perhaps the hardest scientific challenge humans undertake. Much harder than getting to the moon, not that we don't like that, but much harder than even getting to Mars or making the next generation of cell phones or electric cars. Hard like staring into the unknown for years, sometimes decades, with no guarantee that anything you're doing will ever make a difference for somebody like Travis. Regeneron is a great example of both the difficulty of the challenge, but also of the potential reward. We spent 25 years and billions of dollars, not millions, billions of dollars, before we produced our first important medicine, or even earned our first profit. Maybe we should have been or might have been fired, but we stuck with it. Our relentless commitment to disruptive innovation ultimately turned us into one of the most productive biotechnology companies in history. We have produced, thanks to George and his team, new medicines at the rate of about 1 important medicine a year for the last 15 years, including truly miraculous advances impacting millions of lives. And we have 2 people here who are living proof. Mr. President, when you were ill with COVID, it was Regeneron's monoclonal cocktail that you affectionately dubbed the Regeneron. We love it. And that helped save your life. That was invented by George right here and his team. George?
Well, in addition to the president, we had a few minutes ago Sierra's beautiful boy, Travis, who was born without the ability to hear, as you heard from Sierra. And the same company and the same dedicated team of scientists that helped save the president's life also delivered a first-of-its-kind gene therapy known as Otarmeni. So Travis can now hear his mother, as she told you, tell him that she loves him. Hard to think of a greater gift. And just like you, Mr. President, who made our antibody treatment for COVID free for all Americans and thus saved many lives, we have made the decision, the unprecedented corporate commitment, to provide this first-of-its-kind gene therapy for hearing loss free to all the children in the United States who can benefit from it. And we do this, why? To hopefully highlight the power of disruptive biotech innovation and all the good that it can bring to all of our lives and our health. But we have to remember, despite the miraculous advances like autonomy and like the regenerative COVID treatment, we also have to highlight how far we have yet to go to address the many diseases that lack effective treatments. And the cures will not be coming unless we not only celebrate the advances of the biopharma industry to date, but we all work together, private sector, together with the government, to not only maintain America's position as world leaders in biotech innovation, but to actually bump up innovation and become even more disruptive. Especially in a world where China is increasing investment and heavily subsidizing its biotech industry and reducing regulatory hurdles so as to try to displace America's leading position. President Trump's efforts to make drugs more affordable, as well as new FDA programs, such as the Commissioner's Voucher Program, that bring safe and effective new medicines like Harmony to patients more quickly. These are important steps. One additional important way that I've been talking to the administration about to maintain our leading position in the world is to create catalysts and accelerants for our industry and for the healthcare system, such as developing a national healthcare database linked to molecular data, including human sequence data, where Regeneron once again is a world leader. Without such big data sets, powerful new technologies such as AI, despite its potential, will not be as useful as it could be in the quest to develop new medicines and improve healthcare. The biopharma industry of America has and will continue to deliver miraculous breakthrough. You, Mr. President, and young Travis are living testaments of that. But many more lives need to be helped and saved. We need to attain a new level of disruptive innovation. We have to all work together to meet this challenge. Why? Because lives are at stake.
Let me briefly say something. I'm married to a lawyer, my son is a lawyer, but I'm going to talk about the Constitution, and I'm not an expert. But I know our Constitution lays out a vision on how America would out-innovate, out-produce, out-thrive every other nation on earth. And in it, you will find a description of a system built on incentive and reward. A system that says, take the risk, do the work, and you will share in what you create. That is why they enshrine patent protection directly in the Constitution, not as an afterthought, but as a founding principle. As Abraham Lincoln said, another great president, patents add the fuel of interest to the fire of genius. We must keep that fire burning. What we did here today will do that. Little Travis can now hear for the first time, and his potential is endless. Let's make sure he grows up in a country that never stops reaching for the next miracle. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Lynn. It's great to be with you again. Chris, could you say a few words, please?
Thanks, Mr. President. It's not lost on me that this year is America 250, and it's powerful, I think, to pause and remember that 250 years ago,
It's a fascinating news conference, but we've just got to do our best to keep our schedule and our show on time. So while the rest of these dignitaries talk about this effort, and by the way, we shouldn't dismiss things like this for all the sort of negative detraction of having to go to war with Iran or the choices the administration made. They have constantly pushed on this health issue and are doing things no other president, including Trump in his first term, were able to pull off to push industry toward making things better and easier for the rest of us. It's an important thing that they're announcing, and I hope that there's follow through with future administrations on all of these things. We're going to take a quick break while they wrap up. We want to catch the Q&A part in case Trump says something of note about the Iran situation or whatever else. But I think we've got a little opportunity here, AJ, to do that. So quick break. Back in a minute. Y'all stay tuned. Leland Live. Man, this is one of those songs in the 90s that we could have just taken out back and shot in the head. Do you remember this?
Yeah,
song
I
was
do
so
remember the
whiny.
song.
Oh my God. Was that left over from Andrew's show? Whoa! Okay, all right, back to the show. Tapco's in downtown Birmingham. I was thinking about them today. I was doing some work on an older vehicle and some mechanical stuff too today, and thinking how it used to be and how it is now. And the newer vehicles in our family, I don't even try. It's everything's got a computer in it. Everything's got a sensor on it. You're chasing a ghost. It's not obvious. You can't always see the problem or use old school diagnostic approaches. Cars are just sophisticated. That's why you need a sophisticated repair shop, and that would be my friend Michael down at Tapco in downtown Birmingham. It is the cutting edge repair shop. We used to call it mechanics, but I guess we got to change that because it's much more than that. Nowadays, it could be, again, it could be software. It could be sensor replacement. It's other things. They can handle it down at Tapco. They do all the stuff, your routine service, or of course, big higher end stuff that you need done. Even if you want to just soup some things up, they're a performance shop too, and they're really good, straightforward, honest. If you work downtown, they've got a deal where they can actually shuttle you to work. If it's something routine, easy for them to knock out in a day, drop your car off, they'll shuttle you to work, come pick you back up, and that's off your back, and you're not sitting around in a lobby waiting on your car to get fixed. Isn't that the worst? Tapco, y'all go see Michael and them for anything you've got going on with your cars or trucks, especially when it gets beyond. Look, they do stuff other shops in town can't do. Other shops in town, including some dealerships, will bring their stuff down to Tapco because they're just that good. And if you consider yourself among the best at these kind of service and repair jobs, they are expanding and hiring right now. So they only hire folks that really know their stuff. So go in there and talk to Michael. Tapco, T-A-P-C-O, downtown Birmingham, just around the corner from our good friends at Iron City, where we are throwing down on May the 15th with the Jawbone Jam, and we're getting all jazzed because we're just a few weeks out. It's hard to believe it came up on us. Y'all get your tickets. Still tickets available at Ticketmaster and or Iron City's website. Man, we got Brother Kane, who just came out of retirement recently. A huge following for Brother Kane, a huge national act, Birmingham-based. So it's like Homeboys. It's Homeboys night. They're bringing along Stone Horses, who's out on tour with them. Then our other local band that got back together is Cattle. You spell that with 2 D's, by the way. People have always asked me that. Y'all go. It's going to be a wonderful night. May 15th, Iron City. It's Friday night. I'll be doing the show that night down at Iron City, and we hope you get tickets and see you there. And not to mention, it's our 10th anniversary. Talk 99.5 has been around for 10 years. It's rare that you see this much live and local talent for 10 straight years, bringing you the news every day and hanging out with you. So y'all come celebrate our birthday with us and enjoy some incredible music. May 15th, Friday night, Iron City. Buy your tickets. We'll see you there. Trump is still continuing with his news conference. We just had to dip and try to keep things on time. I'm watching some other developments in the news this afternoon as well. We're going to go back to that because what we're trying to catch is any of his remarks on the Iran situation or anything the media might try to pull out of him. I think Lutnick is talking right now. He's been one of the guys on the tip of the spear with a lot of things in the Trump administration. So let's dip back into that, AJ. We'll hang with it at least to the top of the hour unless everything goes off the rails. Trump hijacking the show today in the first hour back here to the White House.
Taiwan, $500 billion coming to America. We'll have $1 trillion of semiconductors. That's part of his $18 trillion, but it's foundational for us to take care of ourselves.
Thank you very much. Now, I'll go off subject for a minute, but I think it's very interesting, and I hope you go over and take a look because it's happening right now as we speak. But first, if you look outside, so we had flooring outside. We had slate, and it was coming to pieces. It's been there since the early 1940s, and it's a path to the Oval Office. It's a path to the West Wing, and it was terrible. It was broken, bad shape. The whole White House has been in bad shape. It's right now in better shape than it is. I think the day they built it, this is better right now. But we're putting magnificent new granite. It's called charcoal. It's black granite against the white, beautiful white walls. We've stripped all of the paints off. We had 200 years of paint And we've redone it, and it's beautiful. You can see the building, but you can also see the columns, everything else. But we're replacing, and they're working right outside. If the press wants to go and take a look at what they do, really pros. You see that we're large slabs of black granite. Granite is rated as, this particular granite, over 1 million year life. As an example, concrete gets rated for about 200 years if you get very high grade. This is over, it's rated over. Can you imagine nature produces something better than you can make? So it's very interesting. It's a beautiful job they're doing. And it's highly polished granite in the areas you don't walk on. And it's called flame finished, the areas that you do walk on, there's no slip. So it's a beautiful job, and it's going up nice. And if you want to take a look outside the window, so that's replacing a stone that was here from the early 1940s, a little before that. And you'll see the ramp, too. We're keeping the ramp. That was for FDR. He needed a ramp, as some people would know. And in his honor, we're leaving it. I wanted to leave it. It means something. The other thing that we're doing that's taking place right now is the Lincoln Memorial has a beautiful reflecting pond or lake. They call it a pool, lake, and pond. Every day is different, but the word reflecting is a good term. It was built in 1922, and it was built out of granite and various stones on the bottom, and they never look great because that's not really meant to be a stone that's underwater for that much of a period of time. It's about 1.5 feet to 2 feet deep. You all know it well. That's where Martin Luther King gave his great speech, and he had 1 million people. And I had the same exact crowd, maybe a little bit more, but they said I had 25,000 people on July 4th. I have pictures of Martin Luther King's crowd, my crowd. It's the exact same everything, but it was 70 years difference. The exact same crowd, but I actually had more people, but that's okay. They gave him 1 million people. They said 1 million people. I had 25,000 people. So. But these are the things that you get with we had on July 4th, a few years ago, first term. So you have this reflecting lake pond is incredible, but it was terrible. The condition, you all know it. A friend of mine came from Germany to see me, and he said, oh, we went over, it's so sad. What's sad? This is a number of months ago. He said, it's filthy dirty, the water's disgusting looking. It's not representative of the country. And I said, well, I'm going to have to go take a look because, you know, Secret Service doesn't let you just walk around too freely, actually. And I went over there with Secret Service in tow, and I said, isn't that a shame? It's terrible. And so they had bids from the Biden administration, Sleepy Joe, and they had bids for years. They were going to do something to fix it, but they never got it done. And it's so important for our country. Everybody knows this. It covers the Washington Monument, Lincoln Memorial. It's in between. It's 2,200 feet. That's taller than any building in the world if you lay it down on its side. Think of it, 2,000. That's a long, over 2,000 feet long. Such would be many swimming pools, many, many, many stacked up together. But it would be the equivalent of the tallest building in the world, plus laid down on its side. So it's very big. It's very wide, actually. It looks narrow because it's so long. And so the pricing was coming in over the years, but it came in sort of recently that it was going to cost $301 million to fix it. It was going to take 3.5 years. So they had to take all the granite out, which is there again, 1922. And it was leaking like a sieve. You couldn't keep water, couldn't keep anything. Granite's not the right stone for that, right stone for that, but not for that. And I said, you know, I have an idea. It's $301 million. It was going to take 3.5 years. So remember those numbers, $301 million. This is a business study. And it was going to take 3 to 3.5 years. And over the years as a developer, I've probably built more than 100 swimming pools in different buildings I built. And I have some really good pool buildings. I also had some really bad ones, but we took care of them. They didn't last too long, Howard. But I've had some really good ones, some very talented people. They're great people. I have such great respect for contractors that are good and such disdain for contractors that are bad. They charge you more money and they give you a bad job, but we don't accept it. But over the years, I've had 3 or 4 really good ones. And I took the best of the 3. I had all 3 go, but I ended up taking the best. And I said, would you take a look at this? It's 2,200 feet long. He said, what do you want me to look at, sir? I said, have a little swimming pool. Think of it as a swimming pool. I said, oh, how big is it? I said, 2,200 feet by 167 feet wide. He said, that's the biggest swimming pool? He said, I've been doing this for a lot of years, sir. I've never heard of a pool like that. I said, well, you'll see, it's a reflecting pool. And very big signal, and very important for Washington, D.C., where we, by the way, have almost no crime, I have to say. That's maybe more important than talking about this. We have the crime down from a tremendously high, one of the worst in the country. We have almost no crime. People are walking around, restaurants are opening all over the place is bustling. But that makes us even more important. So instead of being a dirty, disgusting place where garbage was in it and everything else, and I want to give Doug Burgum incredible credit, because he was involved, the Secretary of the Interior, he was involved right from the beginning. I called him, I said, Doug, I'm getting a lot of complaints about the condition of this. What do you think? And he went over, he studied it, and he came back with some ideas. But I said, you know, Doug, I have a guy who's unbelievable at doing swimming pools. Up the road, we have a club, we have an Olympic-sized swimming pool. He did it 20 years ago, and it's perfect to this day. So I asked him, I said, I have an idea. I'm going to send my contractor over and take a look. He looked at it, he called me up, he said, so we can do something on it? He said, it's perfect, actually. He said, it's really decaying and it's a terrible condition. But if you would, I'd like to work 2 weeks on cleaning it up, which is, if you see right here. I'd like to repoint and fix some of the joints. It won't matter because we're putting a substance over the top, but it's nice to have a nice surface. And he said it'd take me 2 weeks. And if you don't mind, then I'd like to pour the latest and greatest filament or material, which is essentially a pool surface, but it's industrial grade pool. And he said, what color would you like, sir? I said, well, what about turquoise, like in the Bahamas? He said, well, this is Washington, sir. We can give you turquoise, but why don't you try, like, we have a color. It's called American flag blue. I said, that's the color I like. He talked me into it very easily. So he said, that's the color I like. So he came in, and remember, 3.5 years, you have to take all the granite out. Then you have to put all brand new granite in. Take years to do it. Over 300 million. Our job will take 1 week. It will cost about $1.5 million. And people said, wow. And here's the only difference, because somebody said, well, the difference is, no, the difference is this is much better. This will last 30, 40, 50 years. And if it didn't, you do it again quickly if you want. So it's being done now, and I think I think you'd find it really amazing to go take a look. So here it is. You see the trucks. He's got scrapers and, you know, all sorts of equipment to make the stone as good as possible without removing it. So we're using the existing surface, so we don't have to spend millions of dollars in demolition. And he said, much better to leave the stone than it is what's underneath. They're afraid to look. And so you see it's beautiful, clean. It's ready to be taken care of. Here's a sign that we put. And so Doug Burgum and myself are involved in that. But when you take a look at the surface, we have it in good shape. And they just started today putting down the material. It's a machine. It lays it very evenly, beautiful. It goes from one side to the other. It'll take about 3 days. And you're going to end up with a beautiful, beautiful reflecting pool, the way it's supposed to be. Much better than it ever was, actually. It'll stay clean. We even have robots that go in it, and they ride around the bottom, and they clean it like a swimming pool, but these are a much higher level. This is industrial grade, and it's really beautiful. So you're going to have a beautiful pool, and you'll have it for July 4th, long before July 4th. Instead of taking 3.5 years, we're taking a week. And instead of spending $301 million, we're spending less than $2 million. And I think it's a great business story because there are many things like that.
We're hanging with this, and we're going to stay with it just because Trump's about to pivot to Q&A. We are following another story just to let you know. There's been some sort of mass shooting at the Mall of Louisiana down in Baton Rouge. At least 10 people shot. We don't know anything about fatalities. It sounds like rival groups in the food court. We've seen that chapter before, but a horrible situation unfolding. We're watching it, and other developing news while Trump continues with his news conference. He's about to pivot to Q&A, which is going to be fascinating in terms of all the Iran situation. There's some rumor mill that we've got other negotiations going on, perhaps another deal being worked out. Who knows? Maybe Trump will speak to that. You're listening to WZRR FM 99.5 in Birmingham. Now back to the White House.
Areas around it, which were done in granite, similar granite to that. Actually, not as nice as we have here, to be honest with you. But you know, the people that did it weren't in the world of real estate like I am. But they have good granite, circling it, and we're going to repoint it, meaning we're going to caulk it up and repoint it, make it good. And we're going to also sandblast it. It'll be like brand new. So we're going to have, in another couple of weeks, we're going to have the most beautiful reflecting pool between the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial that you've ever seen. And I hope the media can go over and maybe watch them do it, because I think it's very exciting. And so a fraction of the cost and a fraction of the time, and you get a better product than you could ever get the other way, and it'll be beautiful. And as he said, it will be American flag blue. Any questions, please?
Yes, sir. Could you talk a little bit about why your Navy Secretary was fired yesterday, sir?
He's a wonderful guy. I just put out a statement about him. He's a very good man. I really liked him, but he had some conflict with, not necessarily Pete, with some other. He's a hard charger, and he had some conflicts with some other people, mostly as to building and buying new ships. I'm very aggressive in the new shipbuilding, and somehow he just didn't get along with them. He's an excellent guy. I think he would have gotten along great with me. I didn't really deal with him too much, but he's I consider him to have done a very good job. I put out a nice statement about him. You got to get along, especially in the military. You got to get along, and some people liked him, some people didn't, and that's usually the truth about everything. But I found him to be a very good man, and I liked him a lot.
On the war with Iran, how long are you willing to wait until you get a unified response?
Don't rush me, Jeff. Guys like you want to say, oh. So we were in Vietnam like for 18 years. We were in Iraq for many, many years. We're in for I don't like to say World War II because that was a biggie, but we were 4.5, almost 5 years in World War II. We were in the Korean War for 7 years. I've been doing this for 6 weeks. And their military is totally defeated. They're outside of the little wise guy ships.